Test, test, test.
Not really. Test? I don't even know if that works at all.
And I actually had to look up a few words today in her, with her math. So what was the word? I don't know if it's still in. I'm not a math person, right? I'm a English person, because usually I want to do it. Vertices.
X, Y axis.
Well, I don't know if it's related to that, but that's not how, it's not like X, Y, like on a graph. Think of this square, and if you drew, if it was a box, think of that. And if you do straight lines all the way up it, and where one point where they might come together.
Oh, okay.
That's the lines going up to that point, I guess, is the vertices. I'll read the definition.
For a first grader, wow.
Yeah, they had to know which shape had four or more vertices.
Vertices.
No idea.
Okay.
A rectangle has four. A square has 8. I still don't know, even reading the definition, I still don't understand what
Okay.
a vertice is.
I'll trust you on that.
Well, I'm as good as what Google says. A rectangle has 4 sides and 4 angles. It also has 4 vertices. The vertices of a polygon.
Did you get
are
everything
2
sorted
sides.
out?
I think so.
I mean, in the end, it really doesn't matter that much.
Yeah.
I'll read the
I think I was thinking more like just Parks and Environment. I didn't really expand my word search
Square
too
is
bad,
not
so it's probably a good
shape.
exercise that we did it, and now we have it all.
Any face.
Well, because, you saw mine, I
Four sides.
had council, parks, and
I'm not gonna be
finance
able to
all
help her with her second grade math.
in there.
Yeah.
The way you did it is probably easier to follow. Mine was.
But I could write a resume.
Well, I put them all in there now, so made sure everything that you had was in there, and I had actually forgotten about the finance committee meeting from August that Sandy did, so when I read yours, I'm like, we talked about that. So I had to go back and put that in too, but yeah, it's all, I'll sync up.
The focus of this is
Your ears burning today?
talking about what's going forward.
Right.
And just say, you have to just say, okay, as pointed out, I missed something from January and February that we corrected, but also included all the other stuff. That's for your, send that to you, corrected is for you. But really spend your time talking about what's gonna happen next month.
Somebody actually asked
And what's going forward.
Yeah.
The focus of this isn't gonna be talking about what's in the past, other than to say,
whether that's gonna continue or what's
this happened last month, we were here, and, remind them about where you are with the pool, where you are with the trail, where you are with the building, where you are with the outdoor space. And then this is what we're doing going forward.
Right.
Leave it.
Very simple.
And if they want to, others wants to argue about dates, just say they've been corrected, and
Yeah,
we'll send the new copy out.
include them with the minutes, that way they have them. Okay.
But I don't think it should matter. To be honest.
Test, 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 test. That might be better. Yep.
Morning again today.
Test. 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 Test, test, test.
You were smart and charged them up.
Test, test, test.
Smart. Charged them up.
Test, test, test. Test, test.
It being 5:30, let's call the Parks and Environment Committee meeting to order. Please rise. I thank you all for coming. We need to, I grabbed the wrong one, sorry. Where, we got it, okay. Grabbed the wrong one. I'm sure you're not interested in our communications with our police.
Mr. Chairman, can you turn on your mic?
Thank you for being here tonight. This is a committee meeting.
Mr. Chairman, can you turn on your mic?
The purpose of these meetings is to hear information from the staff, applicants, and citizens, and then make a recommendation to the city council for each agenda item. The staff will first present the items. The committee and elected officials will have a chance to ask questions. Then the public will have an opportunity to make a statement. Any action taken tonight in committee meetings will be advisory only and appear as a recommendation at the city council meeting, at which time the entire council will have an opportunity to vote on the matter. We want to hear what everyone has to say, but we ask the rules of procedure are followed. Anyone who wishes to speak must step up to the microphone. You will have 5 minutes to make your point. Please direct your comments to the committee on the dais and not to individual members of the committee, to the staff, or anyone else in attendance. Public comment is an opportunity for you to hear from you. The intent is not back and forth questions and answers. Okay, so we're ready to charge. First item is a call, Roll call, I guess.
Chair Albrecht,
Yep.
Vice Chair Carney,
Yes.
Mr. Monroe, Mr. Mylart,
Here.
Mr. Hudson.
Here.
Ms. Foney.
Here.
Sir, we have a quorum.
We got a quorum.
Mr. Mylart? Here. Ms. Foney?
Here.
Sir, we have a quorum.
We got a quorum. Next is the approval of the minutes of our last meeting, which was December 11th.
I make a motion.
Approval of the minutes of our.
Second.
Second, which was December 11th. Okay. Are there any comments? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, items requiring council action, there are none tonight. So we'll go right on with number 3, and that is the Community Park Enhancement Project update.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So tonight, just a couple of quick review items from what we've done in the past. What I did to be helpful, and at the comments of council last meeting, was to put a timeline together of all of the meetings we've had, all of the discussion items that have been had, and so on and so forth. And so I've done that so everyone can kind of see from start to beginning what we've done, when we've done it, and kind of what meeting that we've done it at. It's really just a reference sheet, so if you have a question of did we talk about that, you can see what meeting we went at it and hit the board docs agenda and read whatever information you might need. Like I said, it is just a reference sheet. The sheet, the reference sheet that was in your packet had some discrepancies, so I've updated those discrepancies, and what's on my screen is correct. I don't expect you to see that, but this will be included in your agenda minutes, and so you'll get the full copy of the most updated reference sheet with your minutes coming up. So just want to make sure I pointed that out, that there was some discrepancies that have been updated, so. Okay. And then, of course, in it is just meeting dates, information, and the timeline. Any questions on the timeline?
Committee?
Any questions on the timeline?
Council? Committee? Ross? Council? Ross?
Just on 8 August, it says the Parks and Environment signed a resolution authorizing FGMA as the architect. I'm sure it's just wording, but Parks and Environment doesn't sign a resolution, right? So,
Correct, and those are some of the discrepancies I've cleaned up, so I've corrected that in the new one.
all right, well, I'll wait for a public comment. All right.
Well, Andrew, were you going to talk about the timeline moving forward and the things that are going to happen in the spring?
Yes, thank you. So with the timeline, one of the most important parts that I think we all want to highlight the most is looking ahead. And so what I'll do is try and give you the next 2, 3, 4 months ahead, and I'll update it with what to expect. And so in January, February, you'll know what's going to be on the agenda, February, March, April, just so you are prepared for what's coming up and you know what to be on the lookout for. We do have some big contracts coming up. We'll go out to bid in probably February, March. Those bid lettings will be open for 2 to 3 weeks, and then you'll start to get the contracts in the early spring for the pool construction and then the cave and center replacement after that. So I want to make sure that that's one of the most important parts that the takeaway from this is the moving forward and the fact that I'll be continually updating what to look for next.
So where is the pool right now?
Right now, the pool is with Illinois Department of Public Health. We dropped it off on December 22nd, and so they are reviewing the plans now. Could be anywhere from, 2 to 4 weeks, maybe 6 at the most, but recent projects that have been submitted with other municipalities have been turned around in about a month. So we are expecting the first round of review from IDPH in January with comments. And the way the process works is you have to send it to the Illinois Department of Public Health. They review our drawings, the architect submitted them, the engineer submitted them. They review everything, and then they send those plans back to us and say, with comments, this has to be changed, that has to be changed, we want this, that, and the other. So then we take those comments, we update the engineering plans and the architectural plans, and then we send them back to IDPH for another review. Hopefully, they don't find anything else and they are satisfied with the answers we give them from the first revisions. If they're not, they'll send it back again to us. We'll make any updates and then send them back. So it almost always takes 2 times. We're hoping it doesn't take 3, but it's not unheard of to have to go back to the state 3 times with revisions to the architectural plans, so.
And then the Caven Center plans, those are with the architect, correct?
Yep, and that's kind of what we alluded to as well, the final Caven Center plans. It's probably a good segue to move right into that part. Last month, we reviewed the Caven Center plans, indicated if any comments or any concerns from the council or anybody to reach out to me. Haven't really heard a lot, so the architects are going forward with a plan that was presented in December. Patrick and I are still kind of reviewing it. We have some placement issues with the gym, floor, gymnasium, and a few other things, but by and large, the square footprint that you see here on this screen and the elevation is gonna be what the final plans are. We won't do any shifting that will cause any major disruptions or delays at this point. It's just small, minor things with the plan as far as on the staff side, but just wanna make sure you guys are aware that this is where we're at. So the architects and the engineers and the civil and the electrical and mechanical and the electrical and all these engineers are all now working forward on this plan to have a final set of plans to go out to bidding in February, March timeframe.
So then the next action items that the committee and the council will see will be the bid contracts. And will the pool come before the Caven Center?
The pool should come before the Caven Center pending IDPH review. If they find more than what we want, you might see that the pool will definitely come first.
Okay, so, and when will that be, do you think?
The pool will come in February, the contracts will probably be in March, April timeframe.
For when the bids are opened
Yep.
and the contract comes to the city council for review?
Yep. Again, that's subject to IDPH review. So if we have to go through 3 reviews, we might delay that a little bit longer because we have to have those plans solid before we go out to bid. A lot of times, if we get the first round of reviews and the revisions are simple, then we could probably get the bid documents prepared knowing that we'll still be able to go out to bid without any kind of changes from Illinois Department of Public Health. But if they have major changes and we feel like it might take 2 or 3 times, we might delay the bid opening until we get the final plans from IDPH. So there are some procedural and some structural issues that we have to work through with submission and going out to bid to make sure that we have a final set of plans versus going out to bid and then have to do an immediate change order from something that the IDPH told us to do. So, but our construction manager, Holland, is on it. They're very good. They are tracking this daily, so we feel like we're in good hands with them. It's just a matter of the submissions.
So when do you think the Caven Center bids will be going to the council?
April.
Okay.
Those are a little easier since they don't have to go through review through IDPH. So we're finalizing those now. We're actually going to do an early electrical package since electrical components are so hard to get. We'll probably put that electrical component package out first, and that's just so we can get these the transformers and those types of things we need. Sometimes they're up to a year to 18-month delay, so we have to get that ordered in order to get that on time. And so as Jeff, if he's here tonight or online, can explain to you, these electrical components are critical and we can't open the building without them. So we're gonna go ahead and put that on an early package. It will likely be less than 50,000, so we'll use the city's purchasing guidelines and working through that particular purchase, but we will be going out early with an electrical package.
Anybody else? I guess we can wait, we should wait until the end for any comments from the public, in the public comment section. Okay, I have one thing on the finance. Can we, I know on the timeline, you're gonna be, it's kind of any changes to that timeline are gonna be added onto the end of it, or the front of, the back of it. So there's no point, but the changes in the finance part, could you highlight those so that we don't have to grab all kinds of paper and see what changed? I know, I think that'd be, just highlight something that's changed.
Yeah, I can do that.
You mean going forward?
Huh?
Going forward, if there are any changes in the financing?
Yeah, and
Okay.
when, like, I don't know, when you get a final cost for something,
Oh.
that changes the cost, so that's a change to that finance sheet.
Yes, of course.
So
Yes, we'll
what,
do that.
what we'll do, we've contracted with Holland as a CM at risk, and what they're gonna do is, they're gonna give us a GMP, which is a guaranteed maximum price. And so once the bids come back and they tabulate everything, they're going to give us this GMP, and they're guaranteed that we will not go over that price. You're gonna get a guaranteed maximum price that we're gonna pay for this facility with the contracts. So there will be a point before you sign the contract that you're gonna know the amount that it's not gonna go over. And so, look for that in the contracts in February, March, April when they come in.
Okay?
And I think that'll be helpful with narrowing down any kind of financial discrepancies or changes.
Yeah, so,
Yeah. On the community park trail, you have $469,923. Does that include, or is that just for the asphalt? Or will that include the lighting that you're gonna need to put along that trail? Or if you wanna put benches in there or anything along this line, or is that just?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the trail part will just be the trail. It will not include lighting around the park. However, there will be lighting as far as the package for the event space area, and that will light up that north half of the trail, potentially too. We haven't gotten that far in the design yet, but, and then park benches will be purchased out of our normal Parks and Rec budget, like we do every year, so.
Okay.
anybody else? Okay. I guess that's the only item on 3.1. 3.2 was the staff and maintenance reports. Anything in particular you want to highlight there?
Nope, just typical Parks and Rec staff reports. And I did have as part of 3.1 this slide that I think, Jerry, you alluded to. It's the same slide you've seen last December, just to make sure there was anything else, questions we might wanted to talk through or anything else. I put it in here just as a placeholder. But no, Parks and Rec staff reports are a good read, and they're just more detail of what we do on a more detailed basis.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on the staff reports? Okay, public comments. Anybody have any public comments? Ron?
Ron Zelms, Ward 6. At the last council meeting, I kind of wondered aloud, and I'll ask the question, I don't maybe expect an answer tonight, but about the construction management contract. That's conceivably $1 million. How will that be factored into the overall cost of the parks project, and where will they get paid from? I sent a couple of emails out over the weekend, and I don't know. I'm going to take credit for maybe having to change the project timeline, because I sent an email out yesterday or Sunday afternoon when I saw a lot of discrepancies on the timeline. So I'm going to assume that maybe some of the council members read that and got the word back. But for the public who may be watching tonight, as of 3:30, the timeline that was on the city's website had some major discrepancies. The first one being the very first item on there that showed the council being briefed on January 24th when there was no council meeting. And I saw that was corrected. Anytime you have, like on the 8th of August or the 14th of November of 2022, where there's no quorum at the Parks and Environment Committee meeting, there are no minutes to look at. I would say also that September, October, November, Parks and Environment Committee minutes, there's nothing posted online. So there's no way to go back and check and look at any of that. So, I just hope that going forward, things do get cleaned up a little bit better. The public does get a little bit better informed about what's happening and what's going on. I think that might be about it. No, one other question, the contract with Holland. I'm still a little bit confused with that. December 2022, contract was signed with Holland, and that dealt with the renovation of the Katie Caven Center. Now, this past December, a new contract, and that dealt with the replacement of the Katie Caven Center. I'm still not sure if it's two separate contracts that are out there, or if the one that just got passed this December morphed the old contract into this new contract. It's really not clear, because I could only find on the city's website one RFP or RFQ that was actually posted, and that was in 2022. I never could find another one for the latest contract that talked about the replacement of the Katie Caven Center. So just a lot of things I think that still need to get cleaned up so the public can really figure out what's going on. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Valerie Hancock. I'm Ward 3. So I just have a couple questions about the All Ability Playground. I wanted to know if it's done, because there's no benches. So my kiddo goes there to play, and it's great, right? But if it's like the grandma trying to be there to watch her grandkids, where's she gonna sit? And I've seen a bunch of people sitting in their cars to watch the kids, so that's not super safe to begin with. But anyway, just a thought, if you're talking about benches coming out of the Parks Department budget already, maybe consider putting some there. And the other part of that is, when you're in the All Abilities Playground, there's the rubberized content like that they run around on, but there's also curbs that exist within the playground, so those are trip hazards. I don't know if you guys have seen that, if you've noticed that, but I've seen a couple kids trip up on the curb. Just something to think about as a parent watching their kids play, trying to avoid other injuries. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Vermaware, Ward 3. Let's see, in connection with the Katie Caven Center / the old garment factory. I don't know if they've ever done anything to the / old garment factory's exterior, which was covered with asbestos siding. Maybe the city can answer the question for me if that was ever treated, covered up, or taken off. I don't know, but I'm just asking a question. And I would believe if it is still on there, the residents living by there, the park, might want to know if they're going to tent that facility when they take it down to contain the asbestos, since you didn't consider the asbestos on your original contract from Holland and Hendricks, from Holland, got mixed up there, from Holland, which is an interesting topic. But that's my question to you. I mean, was that removed years ago? I don't know. Does the city know? Can you answer that question for me? So with the silence accepted means that the asbestos siding is still on the building. So that would conclude that to contain it for the neighborhoods and the people in this town, that they would likely need to tent that facility before you take it down. In regards now to the cemetery, I had a brief encounter with the assistant city clerk in regards to the removal of flower arrangements on the cemetery, city cemetery. I was told, I mean, according to the tote board that's out there when you first drive into the cemetery, it says that all arrangements will be removed by March 1st. For years, I've been doing fine with that, going out prior and taking them off and taking them home and salvaging as far as I can. Since I'm the patriarch of the family, to take care of all my family and a few friends I have out there, to take care of the graves, put fires on them, et cetera. Just that knowing that I go out there and find out that they've all been taken off prior to Christmas I don't know why, but they said, oh, we put a sign out there saying we're taking them off now October 1st. Well, if it's not on the tote board, then that's an illegal sign telling people that they need to take care of their graves prior to that. Can you answer me why you started taking them off prior to March 1st? I see no answer for that accepted question. Well, I guess we move on. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want an answer?
So, Andrew, you want to,
Yeah,
guess we could
if you'd
talk
like me
about
to answer, I can.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Regarding the abatement of the Caven Center, it has been tested. They have given us remediation items that need to be done. There is some asbestos in the basement flooring and some lead paint around the windows that will have to be adjusted before the demo can take place. So that report has been, or that assessment has been completed. We still have to do the assessment on the outdoor kitchen and the pool as well, but that's all part of the demo contract. We wouldn't be able to demo it without those items. And then the cemetery, the takedown times for the cemetery are November 1st and March 1st. We put signs out, we post it on all the social media, we post it on the city's website. It is posted. And even in this very meeting, I did indicate that the takedown dates for the cemetery were November 1st and March 1st. So we do post that.
You want to talk about
I
the
have something to add
playground?
on the contract we approved at City Council for Holland, and that is a construction management contract, which is public services and doesn't normally go out for, in response to an RFP. Professional services, I mean. Is that what I
Correct.
said?
Well, there was an RFQ process that was conducted at the very beginning before the pool process, and we had interviews, and Holland was selected as the best firm for the project. And then an RFQ process was not conducted again for the one that was done in December because Holland was already involved, and since it makes sense to have the same architect and the same construction manager for all of the entire project rather than to have it split out between different firms. So it was a kind of an addition to the contract and the work that Holland was already conducting. But an RFQ process and interview process was conducted back in 2022. Now, you're right, with professional services, you can't take bids on costs, but you do it on qualifications. And Holland was selected among other candidates at the time.
Okay.
And then there was a question about the playground benches. You want to?
Sure. Yeah, we do have, we will continually upgrade the playground with benches and those types of things. We have a fencing, we want to put it around it eventually. We have to put the trail in. So there are a few items that are still outstanding. The installation of the 2 signs, the donor sign and the public welcome sign that we have. So there are still items that we're still addressing. There's probably not much we can do with that curbing, assuming it's a trip hazard. It is curbing height, and so during the design process, we determined it's just like a curb. You know, kids would see that similar to where they would see a curb, and that was the hope. So are they tripping over it? Yeah, I mean, could we paint it orange or do something else like that if it becomes a real problem? There's probably some things like that we can do, but it is the same height as your standard curb, so I think that was all.
Okay. Anybody have anything else?
Yeah. You and I talked about the signs out at the cemetery, and the main sign just listed one date. You had to go further in for the second sign for the November. And you and I talked about adding that into the big sign and on the other, because I have had complaints on that too.
Yeah, and I think the sign for the cemetery is one of the ones we're looking to redo, and just update the sign anyway. So when we do that, we'll add that second date on that first sign.
Okay, anybody, anything else from the committee? Council? Okay. Since we have no other business,
Correct.
hear a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Public safety in 3 minutes, 4 minutes?
All right, let's call the public safety meeting to order. Leah, can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Vorse,
Here.
Councilmember Van Hook,
We started the meeting. Ross. We started, sorry. She's taken.
Councilmember Van Hook,
Here.
Councilmember Lotz,
Here.
Councilmember Rosenberg,
Present.
Councilmember Phoney.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, we needed a motion for approval of minutes from November 13th.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, our minutes pass. There are no items requiring council action, so we'll turn it over to Chief. He's got
Yeah, so one of the things I wanted to do was just kind of give you an update on some of the things that we're doing at the police department throughout the year, and one of them is some of our wellness initiatives. And use that up on the board.
I just shared.
She just shared.
Guess I could have finished my conversation.
Sorry about that.
That's all right, no worries. There we go. Yeah, so what we're going to talk about is some of the wellness initiatives that we are doing at the O'Fallon Police Department and Public Safety, EMS, Fire Department, just to give you guys an idea of some of the things that we have going on. You know, you obviously don't hire robots to go out and enforce the law or to do EMS or to do fire. So, and it's especially MECOM as well. So why do we worry about it? It's been a big buzzword over the last 10 years or so, but it's really, it's very important. You know, first responders have a higher rate of heart attacks, PTSD, depression, suicide, divorce, alcohol abuse, sleep disorders, all of these things that the general population experiences, but first responders experience at a higher rate. So it's really important for us, when we look at recruitment and retention, to try to focus on these things and create a culture within our organization where we can be accepting and we know that it's okay to not be okay. You know, we've learned from our mistakes in the past, and that's where we're going. So what are we doing about it? You know, part of it is, next slide, is, you know, try to break that stigma, to not only focus on your physical health, but on your mental health, your heart health. And then just wanted to highlight a few of the programs that we have, you know, and it really starts from the very beginning. When an officer, when an employee is coming in, is that meeting. And some of this stuff is specific to the police, but some of it is also, a lot of it is also it's with all of the different departments that we have, EMS, fire, MECOM. But we start with just meeting with the employee and the family. I do that with every officer that's hired, is to sit down and talk about the expectations, to talk about what police work is about, what they can expect moving forward. Because, you know, when we're bringing somebody into the organization, we're not just bringing in that person, we're really bringing in their entire family, because they're the ones that are going to deal with the stress when that officer, when that dispatcher, when that paramedic goes home, and the things that they see. So we really try to focus on that family aspect, because they're the support system that's going to be there outside of work. For law enforcement, we do have a mandatory reading during our FTO phase called Emotional Survival for Law Enforcement. I know a lot of departments are actually making this a mandatory reading now. It's by Kevin Gilmartin, a wonderful thing. We're also giving spouses a book called I Love a Cop that just kind of gives some idea, some perspective on what they're getting involved in, and whether or not, because there's a lot that goes on outside of law enforcement. And then some of the other things that we have, and I've got Lieutenant Feldhake over there to talk about our peer support team, and he's just going to give you an update of what our peer support team does. And this is a multi-jurisdictional one where we have people on all of our public safety on. So Patrick, if you want to talk about that for a second.
Sure. My name is Patrick. I'm with the police department, and I coordinate our peer support team within the agency. And to kind of echo a lot of the things that he has said, culturally, it's not historically been okay for cops to discuss or talk about their feelings and how the things that we experience, how they may take a toll on you both professionally and in your personal lives. And that bleeds over into a lot of the issues that he was speaking about with divorce rates, obesity, you know, the suicide rates and all the things that we deal with. So we put together a team several years ago. Actually, Lieutenant Rob Schmicke is responsible for putting the team together. He saw a need for this way before a lot of the agencies in the area did. It was something that he was very forward thinking about. But right now our team's comprised of 9 people, and it's primarily police, EMS, and dispatch. Our fire department's not currently involved in our peer support team because they have their own program that they do. So they do a lot of that independent in-house. But our primary responsibility is to enact a lot of the things that we think the guys would benefit from emotionally and physically. Try to break that stigma that he was talking about culturally, that it's okay for things not to be okay. We check in with people, you know, whenever we know something's going on. When our guys experience any kind of, all of our first responders experience all kinds of calls. But when there's a call that's an anomaly that may touch close to home, whether it's a sudden death of an infant, or a car crash that we wouldn't routinely deal with involving a death, or, a fatality on some level that may be more traumatic than something else, we've coordinated a response team with Memorial East. It's a critical incident debriefing team. And what we do is we coordinate with them within the first couple of days of this happening and get everybody together, and discuss, how it affects them, their experiences. And what we found is a lot of these guys, they share a lot of the experiences. There's a lot of same emotions, and that team comes in and they kind of explain to them how to deal with this stuff so it doesn't become something that affects them in their personal life adversely or in their professional life in an adverse way. They explain how PTSD affects us, kind of how it may manifest later in life and be triggered by smells, experiences, and things of that nature, and take them back to those those situations that they were previously involved in. It's a great program. We do the best we can to look out for our people, whether it's just good things or bad things. Touch base, see how people are doing, and we get a lot of good feedback, and there's a lot of engagement that it promotes within the organization.
Thanks. And one of the important things to know about that peer support team is that it's completely, well, for the most part, anonymous. I mean, and that I don't check in, and other members of the administration doesn't check in. I'll check in with Lieutenant Feldhake on a case-to-case basis, say, hey, is the peer support team being used? And he'll just say, yep, it's being used. I don't ask who goes. I don't ask what they talk about. And that's what makes it successful in those situations, is that the officers, the paramedics, the dispatchers, they feel comfortable going to somebody in the peer support team, knowing that it's going to be confidential, and that what they discuss, or even if they did discuss something, doesn't make it to administration or doesn't affect anything in their job. So, for me, that's a big part of that program being successful. And then part of that as well is that is while they're going through the FTO process is to have FTO check-ins and to check in with that peer support team to make sure that they're adjusting to that new process and that new life as a police officer. In addition, we have our chaplain program. We have an app called the Cortico app, which we subscribe to each year, and it's an app that's available for every officer, paramedic, dispatcher, and then their families, and then any of our retirees as well. It's another one of those confidential apps. I don't know who uses it. Everybody has the exact same login. It's completely anonymous, available 24/7. They can do self-assessments on PTSD, sleep, stress. There's wellness contact on there. All of our peer support members are on there. Chaplain supports. There's a therapist finder. So we input therapists in there that are compatible with our insurance. So that way, if they need to reach out to a therapist, they can do that. And like I said, that's available to all of our officers, all of our employees, and then their spouses and family as well. That's another thing we do. There's always a big focus on physical fitness, nutrition. This past year, we've put an additional focus on financial fitness. We hosted a financial wellness night at the Public Safety Building where we talked about all of the things, because we all know that you can be physically fit and mentally fit, but if you're financially unfit, that has a toll on you as well. So a lot of focus on what our benefits are, and talking to spouses and letting them know, hey, these are the benefits that are available to you. This is what your pension is. This is what Social Security is. You'd be surprised at the number of officers and employees that have no idea what is available to them or how to be financially fit. So that's a big thing for us as well. A lot of training that we do, and then you'll see the picture. This one comes on Saturday. I talked to you a little bit about this, but this is Jujubee. Jujubee is the comfort dog that will be at the public safety facility 24/7. So she's coming Saturday for training from noon to 5, and Jujubee was purchased by Cigna, our insurance carrier, and she will be available for all of our employees. We'll bring her around to different departments. We'll take her on community events. I'm really excited for this weekend. You know, we also have a family support. We talk about family support. We have a spouses group at the police department because that will reach out for any of our spouses. And then he already talked about the critical incident debriefing. So, you know, what are the next steps? One of the things that we're looking forward in the future is annual mental fitness evaluations. So the state had toyed with the idea of making mental fitness evaluations mandatory for all law enforcement. It didn't actually go through where it's mandatory, but it's something that a lot of departments are moving towards, not necessarily mandatory, but offering those mental fitness evaluations. And I don't call it mental health, I call it mental fitness, because health indicates that it's somewhere that you have to be, but it's always something you should be working on, your fitness. So we worked with Cigna this year in Ashley to try to make sure that in our employee assistance program, there is an option to have a mental fitness evaluation once a year for free with that. So that's something we're going to be pushing out to let our staff know that those are available to them to go and see some kind of counseling and just keep that mental fitness up. And then the other one is, and you probably saw this in the strategic plan, is to take a look at what does a social worker look like in the police department. So we just found out in the last week that SIU Edwardsville is interested, and we've already got an interested applicant for a social work intern this spring semester and summer semester. So what we're looking at is the possibility of having a full-time social worker embedded in public safety. You know, and there's a lot of them that are up north that do this, and there's a lot of, and Carbondale does it as well, but there's a lot of cases that our officers, our first responders deal with, mental health, domestic violence, all of that stuff that we could really benefit from having a social worker in there to take some of that pressure off of our staff and find those resources for our community. So what we're doing is we're going to take a look at that and have this social worker this year probably take a look and see if they can do kind of an in-depth staff study of what that would look like within our organization and how that would move forward before we actually would kind of decide on what to do full-time for that. So I'm kind of excited about what that's going to look like over the next 6 to 8 months. And then we're always looking for, you know, creative ways to engage and find new ways to keep our employees here happy and healthy, both on the job and at home, because that's probably the most important thing. So that's all I have for the employee wellness. I just kind of wanted to give you an update of what we do and why we do some of the things we do. If you have any questions, I'd be willing to answer them. Yes.
That's great.
Yes, thank you both for what you do to take care of our first responders. So I guess moving on to the next item, you had 2.2, fire department vehicle.
Yep, and I believe Brad's online. Brad, are you ready?
Yeah, I am. Good evening, all. Hello from Kansas. So actually, I'm going to kind of follow on where Kirk left off. The mental health of the fire service, you know, public safety in general. We have a lot of the similar programs. It's a little bit more challenging for us, as though we have all volunteers and part-timers. So they don't come in every day. We don't see them every day. We don't have a lot of some of the same accesses to them. But I'll tell you that we do have the same issues. I have had a number of folks come in this past year, and we've got different resources we've helped them work through to talk to some different folks. I'm in Kansas by sheer coincidence on the topic that Kurt brought up with PTSD and the fire service and public safety. So I'm actually in Kansas for a PTSD program. By sheer coincidence, I had a contact on LinkedIn that reached out, saw I was a military vet and a first responder, asked if I had some issues. Turns out I have a lot as I tested out. And I qualified for a program that NDRI USA has partnered with FEMA to do a PTSD insomnia study. They're taking the same therapies that were used for combat veterans and their issues, and now they're trying to see if those same techniques would work with first responders. So this is day one of 4 for me out here. It's an interesting program, interesting insights, but should be good when it's all said and done. But yeah, so it's something we definitely work with quite a bit. For us locally, our University of Illinois Fire Service Institute is one of the leads on first responders and mental fitness. We have a program called the Resiliency Program. All of our firefighters get as they go through the academy program. And then most of the classes that are at 40 hours or longer have another block of instruction that's mandated in all of those. So it is definitely something that they're pushing just as hard as, the cancer prevention stuff. So the stuff that Kirk and the PD have going on there, we partner with some of that, and then we do definitely have a lot that we push for our volunteers. So that's kind of what we have going on with that. I shared with you all, hopefully you got the end of year review wrap up, just kind of some of our stats and things that we did. Very proud again of our volunteers, the number of hours that they put in, not only for the fire calls and the incidents they respond to, but just the amount of training and the community outreach they do. I mean, again, we're in that 1% class of the US that can do that for the size community we have. So very, very proud of our fire department. And then kind of lastly, kind of a budget capital improvement plan thing. Our current budget year, we're approved to buy 1 SUV, and then in FY25, a second SUV, replacing basically my vehicle and our deputy chief vehicle, both with right at 100,000 miles closing in on. The state bids for this current year came out in November of 2023. So we are looking to get the FY24 vehicle closer to FY25, May, June time frame, it sounds like. I kind of jumped the gun and ordered 2 vehicles instead of the 1. Again, my mindset at the time was, if state bids are coming out in the end of the year, November time frame, and I'm not going to get it to the next budget year, FY25 is going to be the same thing. I'm going to get the state bids in November, not get it till, then FY26. So I put the order in for 2 as opposed to 1. That may require me to come back to you guys later on before FY25 or partially after FY25 to amend the budget. I'll work with Sandy, and I've talked to her a little bit about that. And we'll kind of catch a price break, getting the second one ahead of time, but instead of just chasing them, being a half year behind each time, I just decided to kind of jump the gun and order 2 and just get ahead of it a bit. So hopefully it doesn't cause too much disruption in the process, but just want to throw that out there to you. And that's kind of all I have, pending any of your questions.
And there's a chance that this may not come back to you guys because we don't know when these trucks will actually be delivered. If they're not delivered until May, then that'll go on FY25. If it comes a little bit before then and we need to take possession of it, then we'd have to come back and ask for an amendment to the budget this year. Ultimately, it's trying to do what's right and have a cost savings.
All right, thank you, Chief White, and we wish you well in Kansas City. So apologize for not asking for comments before, but so any comments from the committee on either topic that we covered? And council? All right, we'll open up for public comments.
Hi again, Valerie Hancock, Ward 3. So I've been with the city for going on 20 years, and when I first started in MECOM, mental health was not something you talked about. And I can honestly say that within the last 5 to 7 years, probably just shortly after Chief Van Hook took over, stuff started to take a great change. The mental health stuff has vastly improved. Some of the issues that we had before with PTSD were completely unaddressed. It left people sleepless, depressed, a lot of alcoholism, stuff you don't necessarily think about because it's private behind closed doors. But it's gotten so much better, and I just want to say thank you. You guys have really, truly moved in the right direction, and I look forward to being with the city for another 20 years in the same capacity.
Thank you, Valerie. Any other comments?
She was not a plant. She actually, she actually did that on purpose.
All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.